Hey guys, welcome to the NC Barn Door Build channel. My name is Brian. Thanks for tuning in. We are attempting to DIY build our own barn dominium. I'm in the plumbing phase. This is video 3 in our plumbing series. We talked about plumbing planning, how to plan the drain layout for your barn dominium, and we documented the sewer install process. And now we're inside the house and we're getting the fixtures all plumbed up. And today I want to talk to you about two fixtures. The first one is our laundry area. I want to talk about this laundry box, and then later on in the video I'll show you how we plumbed up our double vanity in the primary bathroom. I think you'll find that one interesting as well. So let's dig into this and let me explain to you how and why I did all this, and then we'll go in reverse here and do some video on the actual install process, gluing everything up, and I'll kind of talk you guys through that. So let's dig in. I'm going to preface this part of the video by saying that this system here is built to the 2018 North Carolina Building Code. That is what is in effect in my area. Make sure you know what your building code is where you live, because this may not pass inspection in your build. For me, I follow the 2018 North Carolina Building Code, and that's the numbers that I use to build this. Now, first off, let's talk Chapter 30 requirements. Since this is a plumbing fixture, it needs to have a trap. I have my P-trap located here below. This is all 2-inch Schedule 40 PVC. Every trap has to have a vent. I have my vent located here. It's an individual vent that runs up to the attic into the vent header and will eventually poke out through the roof. There's multiple ways to vent plumbing fixtures. This is just an example of an individual vent for our laundry box. Now, as far as Chapter 27 goes, it's going to be specific about where this box needs to be, your standpipe, your trap arm, how all that needs to be put together. For our area, the washing machine box needs to be a minimum of 34 inches above the base of the washing machine. Our washing machine, we already know, is going to be a front-loading washing machine. It's going to sit on a 14-inch pedestal. So if I take that 14-inch pedestal where the base of my washing machine is going to be, add that 34, I come up with 48-inch height minimum. I'm at 49. If you had a top-loading washing machine that was going to sit on the floor, you could put your box lower. Not going to be the case for us, so I decided to put it a little bit higher. And it also allows me to access the valves and what have you without reaching down behind the washing machine. So that is why my box is where it is. As far as the standpipe goes, North Carolina dictates any standpipe needs to be 2-inch diameter, which we are. Minimum of 18 inches in height, which I'm at 18 inches from the top of the crown weir to the bottom of the box here. And then it is a maximum of 48 inches. So minimum 18, maximum 48. I'm right close to the minimum. I'm a little over 18 inches. That's why my P-trap is a little bit higher. I'm still within code, but it sits a little higher than probably most. I had to go through one stud bay, so I drilled through our 2x4 stud here with a 2-inch diameter pipe. Outside, you're about 2 3/8 inch. That chews up a lot of your stud. I put a stud shoe. I kind of overkilled it because this is a non-supporting wall, but I wanted to put a big stud shoe on here because I'm going to have a tiled shower on the backside, and I don't want this stud to move and crack my grout or tile. So we've put a stud shoe in to reinforce our hole. We've put in some horizontal bracing, both the top and the bottom, to help stiffen this stud up since we bored out, I believe it's more than 60% of the stud. Now, as far as the trap arm goes, there's a minimum length of 2 pipe diameters. For me, since this is 2-inch pipe diameter, I'm limited to 4 inches. Maximum horizontal distance in North Carolina is 30 inches. So anywhere from 4 to 30 inches, basically one stud bay will get you your appropriate length. You can try to squeeze it inside of one. I could have put my standpipe over here, but then I run into the issue of my water lines coming up and trying to work around my drain pipes. So I elected to move it over so I can run my water lines up unobstructed and then just jump over one stud bay. Also, your bottom plate and your top plate have to have nail protectors on them. Minimum of 2 inches above the bottom of your top and bottom plate. So put your big nail protectors, nail plates on the top and bottom, and then your smaller plates can go in front here. This is not required because I'm greater than 1.25 inches away from the edge of the framing. But for me, I like to be a little bit extra cautious with things. Now let's go ahead, because there are some things to think about when you're actually plumbing this stuff up. So we're going to go ahead and rewind, and we'll go back to me actually plumbing this up, and I'll talk you through the process. When gluing this stuff up, guys, think about the order that you're going to glue your fittings in place and mark everything. I think I'm going to glue everything up like this, and then I will have this be the last piece. We'll put glue on both sides here and can slip this up, and we should be in a good spot there. The other thing I like to do, I challenge myself to be as neat as possible. So I mark all of my connection points. It's real easy to be sloppy, especially with this purple primer. You can get it all over everything. What I've learned, the key is with this stuff is don't have your brush here dripping with primer. Just kind of paint it on there. Yeah, it takes a little bit of extra time, but in my mind, it just shows good craftsmanship. And when the inspector comes and looks at this stuff, he's going to see some purple primer, and he's going to see it put on neatly and not smeared all over everything. Continuing on with the thought process of being neat with your purple primer, the other benefit to taking your time and making things look good, not only does it, in my mind, show craftsmanship, but it also sets a good impression for your inspector. And I think when they see people really taking the time and taking care and trying to put a lot of effort into making things right and look good, the less digging they'll do. As opposed to you come in and you got purple primer running down the side of the pipe and dripping on the floor, and the guy's created a mess. It just sets a bad tone for the inspection. So I think that's another side benefit of taking your time here and doing things neatly. And honestly, it really doesn't cost any more money. It probably costs less money to be neat with it because you're not wasting primer as it's running all over. All right, gluing the sanitary tee up here to the trap arm. Little twist as it goes in there, and then hold for 30 seconds so it doesn't push out. And then we continue on. The drain and the vent here. The vent is not hooked up in the attic yet, and likewise the drain down in the crawl space that's just stubbed through, both down through the crawl space and the vent up into the attic, and then we'll go through later and hook all that stuff up. We'll do the crawl space first so I can get the height and the fall that I need, secure everything, and then we can go up in the attic and then put slope on everything up there. And just do one stage at a time here, one fixture at a time. And this is the most difficult part here, is getting the P-trap in there because I have 4 fittings to prime and glue and then slide it up in there. So you have to work kind of quick. And I don't know if I mentioned it or not, in North Carolina, and I think probably in most jurisdictions, the primer is required. You can also buy cleaner for your pipes. I just take rags and wipe everything off before I dry fit it together, but you can also buy cleaner if you have really dirty pipes. And that's the last piece. The next fixture that we're going to plumb up is this double vanity, and that's how I'm doing this build. I'm just going fixture by fixture, reading code, and trying to get everything done by the book. And what we'll do here with this fixture set up next is dry fit everything together. I'll explain the fittings, why I used what I did and how I put them in there and why I did it that way. And then we'll get everything glued up and get it ready to run water. Before we get into the plumbing aspect of this double vanity, let me talk to you about why we did what we did here with the framing. So I had to build a dummy wall here because behind that treated 2x4 on the floor there, that's the concrete stem wall. So instead of trying to drill through and notch out that concrete stem wall, it was much easier to just build a dummy wall in front of it, and then I can run my piping straight down through the subfloor and into the crawl space. I guess that's one of the downsides to post frame on a crawl space or a basement is it's really hard and difficult to run plumbing down through an exterior wall. I don't know, maybe you could do it maybe a little easier, maybe when they're forming the walls, if you put the plumbing in, if you knew where things were going to be, I guess, maybe, I don't know. But for me, I just built this 2x6 dummy wall, and I went with 2x6 because we're boring these big holes through there, and a 2x4 wall boring through the majority of the studs, it just weakens it too much. So this will be like a little half wall or pony wall behind the vanity, so we'll have a little ledge behind the sink where you can set things on and what have you. When you build something like this, make sure that you get it high enough, because this pipe at the top of this wall is the vent pipe. That vent pipe, in order to run horizontal, needs to be a minimum of 6 inches above the floodplain of the fixture served. So with the sinks being at 36 inches, a normal countertop, you need to be 6 inches above that, so 42 inches. So I built this wall just a little bit taller than that, knowing that my vent pipe was going to be running horizontal above the sinks, and I needed to be a minimum of 42 inches above the floor. So hence why we built it the height we did, which worked out really well because I had a girt board there behind it, and that helped stabilize the wall. All right, just dry fitting the last pieces in here before we get it glued up. And I'll explain in detail here a little more of the fixtures and why we put fixtures where we did. And when I did my initial plumbing plan, I didn't realize that this was going to be as complex as what it is now, so I had to get some extra fittings. Another sanitary tee I stole from another area, so I'll have to replace that. And here we go, just trying to get things lined up properly. And you'll see here in a little bit, I can't get those vertical vent lines straight. You can see the one on the right there is a little canted. It's not plumb with the studding. So I have to take that bottom piece out here in a second, and you'll see, and extend it out to get it to go vertical. So again, just another benefit to dry fitting things together. Once you glue it, it's a done deal. So there I'm checking for plumb. Would it have worked the way it is? Yeah, but again, I don't know. My OCD got the best of me, I guess, in this area. So I take it back apart and extend that bottom piece just a little bit so I can get both vertical lines nice and plumb. And once we get that done, then we get ready and we'll prime and glue everything up. Okay guys, let's talk a little bit about some of the key points behind this double vanity setup here. This one's a little bit unique in that my main drain is all the way off to the right-hand side as opposed to being in the middle. You'll see a lot of YouTube videos where you have the double vanity with a double T in the middle going down and the vent stack going straight up. For one, I can't do that because I have a window above the center here. And for two, my main line is underneath the floor here, and I didn't want to try to get things exact to drop it in on the top side. So I'm coming down over here, and that allows me to go straight up with the main stack, vent stack through up to the attic. I have 1/4 inch fall on all my lines going that way. My stub outs for the drain is 18 inches above the floor. You have a little bit of variance on that. You don't want to be too high where you're above the bottom of the sink, and you don't want to be too low where your P-trap is going to hit the bottom of the cabinet. So 18 inches is what I'm using. That's kind of the standard. A couple things with the fittings. Your sanitary tees, make sure you have those positioned so they're running the right way. This is a vent and air is going to be moving this way, so our sanitary tee is set appropriately. It's possible to have that flipped around backwards. You don't want that. Same with your drain sanitary tees. Sanitary tee here on both sides. You want to make sure those are pointed down so the water is running down. Combo Y here as opposed to a sanitary tee. That gives me a little bit more of a cushion here as the water flows through. It's not such a tight turn, so we're using Ys here. And then on this side, we have a long sweep elbow at the bottom, sanitary tee, short sweep up here because it's a vent, and that is allowed by the IPC. Also, make sure you know what your code is in your area. This is all plumbed up 1.5 inch plumbing, with the exception of the vent stack, which is 2, and the main drain, which is 2. North Carolina Building Code, which follows IPC with a little bit of UPC stuff sprinkled in, allows me to use 1.5 inch drain up to 3 DFUs. 1 DFU here, 1 DFU here. That's drainage fixture units. If you haven't watched the first video in this series, I'll link it up in the corner. Go back and you can watch that, and this may make a little more sense. You can kind of see how we planned all this plumbing out and how it's going to lay out with the house. Let's go ahead. I think that's enough of this. Let's go ahead and get this thing primed up and glued up. Hey, thanks for hanging out to the end. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I've been learning a lot doing the plumbing on this house, and I hope you guys have been too. But we have a lot yet to go. I have showers to plumb up. I got toilets to plumb up, another lav, a kitchen sink, another sink in the laundry room. I got to poke a hole through my standing seam metal roof for the vent, which I'm not looking forward to. And in each of these little fixtures that we're hooking up, they all have their own little challenge. So I hope you guys stick around. We're going to continue the plumbing series here. The next video will be a cost breakdown on the shell. That's been a long time coming, and then we'll come right back into the plumbing series and hopefully get this thing plumbed up so we can have some water and the drains functioning inside the house. So that's all I have for you guys today. We'll see you on the next video.